And we'll continue to kind of get into different energy and different folks. So how many of you were paying a lot of attention to the 12-21-12 stuff? All right? So it was kind of all over the place. And what's really interesting about this, which I find, you know, this is always interesting when you get into these kinds of things. A lot of people kind of this morning, I'm watching guys on the news, this was a lot of BS. It was another Y2K. You know, we all got all great. Does everybody remember that? The the end of the world, you know, apocalypse, Y2K. So that was a big, 12 years ago, we had that big kind of Y2K thing going on. Everybody looked at this, and then of course when the sun came up this morning, they said, oh, look, the same thing. There are some distinct differences about this time versus that time, so we'll talk a little bit about it. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this is a Mayan prediction. It's also a Hopi Indian. There's a lot of different cultures that did look at 12-21-12. The Mayans were really amazing astronomers. Many years ago, we're talking thousands of years ago, before there was any, they had no technology. They just, you know, these guys are literally, you know, writing things on a clay tablet, and they're saying, there are guys that I was watching saying, we can still look at this today and use what they did. That's how amazing it was. So the Mayans, they're kind of targeted that date, but it's one of those things that people take in a little bit in the wrong way when you don't get the right information. So my accountant is my friend since I'm 9 years old. And imagine having an accountant as a friend when you're 9 years old. But his father was an accountant, so he figured he was going to be an accountant. But anyway, he said something to me that I never forgot many years ago, and he said, a little information is dangerous. And what would happen would be, he would say, like, you know, something would be on TV about your taxes or something, and he said, all of a sudden the next morning, I'd get flooded with phone calls. Oh, is this, they're telling me I can deduct this, or I can do this, or are you doing this for me? And he's like, doesn't apply to you. You didn't get the right information. So with the Mayan calendar, I think we kind of did the same thing, because if you study it a little bit more, you understand what it is. So the Mayans saw time in cycles, not an ending, it's a cycle. So this cycle began 3114 BC, and this cycle ended today, or today's the end of the cycle. Right, so that was the end of a cycle, which they call the long count cycle. Now the thing significant about today, which is different than Y2K, is really what's happening astrologically, because first of all, today's winter solstice, right, we all know that, and the sun came up today and rose right in the center of the galaxy of the Milky Way. That has not happened for almost 26,000 years. And there's an alignment, a planetary alignment that happened today that has not happened in all that time. And the last time we had that was when we actually were coming out of the Ice Age. We all remember that, right? It was somewhat cold. There's some seats over here, Rose.
Oh, there is.
Over on this side, yeah. So we all remember the Ice Age. And you may not even remember, in like the 1500s we had what was called the mini Ice Age. So, but that was what happened 26,000 years ago. Even before Al Gore, we were having bad weather. So, right, Al, who invented the internet. But that's a different issue. So now the idea becomes, so now, of course, the world did not end. We're still here. I didn't expect it to end. I hope you paid your American Express. What was funny was my American Express was actually due today. It was like, I said, I better pay it. So I was like sitting there during the week. I said, maybe I shouldn't pay it. Maybe I should just pay it. But I said, I need to get it in, or I'll get a penalty. Or if I'm dead, who cares? So that was kind of what happened. So I think what happened was everybody focused a lot of energy on this, and of course a lot of people made a lot of money, because that's what people like to do with these things, you know, selling all kinds of stuff, and 12-21-12, and selling shirts and everything else. So we want to look at it tonight from the perspective of, okay, here we are, we're going into a new calendar, as far as the Mayans are concerned, but we're also going into a new energy, and a new astrological energy. We're actually coming into the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is what we consider an enlightened time. Now I'm really excited because I'm an Aquarian, so I'm even more excited. But it is the age of Aquarius, which is also kind of synced up with, we're coming out of the Piscean age into the Aquarian age, which is supposed to be an age of enlightenment and shifting. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the shifts that are taking place. We're already seeing it with the weather. We're already seeing it with a lot of crazy things going on. We just saw a horrific incident in Connecticut. So we're seeing a lot of shifts and a lot of changes. So people say, well, what should I do? How do I deal with this? How do I make the transition into the new world? And we're going to have what I see as two distinct things happening. We're going to have people who are in the light, all of us, right? Because we're kind of on the path of seeing things differently. And then we have people who are not in the light, or in the dark. You know any of those? So you know my family. So Now, what happens as we start to separate at a higher level of frequency and energy is you're going to start to feel the feelings of this energy at a higher level. So for example, you get into a room sometimes, you're working with certain people, or you see certain people and you get a feeling about them, you say, anybody get, you get that, at heightened energy and awareness, you're going to feel this more now. Because now we're getting into higher vibration of energy.